Hello everyone and welcome you all to our history class. In our previous discussion we have studied that how in the mid 19th century different social reformers from different part of the country had come forward and they had worked for the betterment of the condition of the women, and they had also put forth the need that if a woman's condition need to improve, they must get the education. So in the early 20th century many of the women had took education with much of the hardship, and they then contributed for the improvement of the women condition. Today we are going to discuss some important figure those had worked for the betterment of the women. So there were the following important figures. For example, the first one was Begum Rukia Shekhawat Hussain. Begum Rukia Shekhawat Hussain, who started schools for Muslim girls in Patna and Calcutta. She also criticized the conservative groups who favored the inferior treatment which were getting to the women in the society. There was another Begum of Bhopal who had promoted girls' education, and for this promotion she has founded a primary school for girls at Aligarh. Then if we see in Maharashtra, there was Tarabai Shinde who had wrote a very famous book that was Shri Purush Tulna, where she had shown the comparison between the social differences that existed between the men and women. She has put forth her critical views in her book Shri Purush Tulna, where she has shown how the woman was getting the treatment after becoming a widow. She has said that the woman, if she was a widow, would not allowed to go in the weddings or in receptions or any auspicious occasions where the married women go. And also she was not allowed to wear the colorful dresses. Again, her hairs were being cut by the barbers so that she should not look beautiful. And this worst treatment was only given to her because an ill fate was written on her forehead. So Tarabai Shinde has criticized this condition of the women in her book Shri Purush Tulna. The next important figure was Pandita Ramabai. She was a great scholar of Sanskrit, and she has criticized the treatment, the miserable treatment which the upper caste Hindu women were receiving. She also founded a widow's home at Pune to provide shelter to widows who had been treated very badly by their husbands' relatives after the death of their husbands. And in this widow's home, she was giving the training to the widows so that they can support themselves economically. So here we have seen that some women had came forward and they had took initiative for the improvement of the women's condition. But this was very strongly opposed by the conservative groups, as well as Orthodox Muslims were also worried about the impact of these changes. They thought that Hindu women were adopting Western ways of living, and because of it, they thought that the Hindu culture and values will get eroded, and that is why they opposed to these women very strongly. But we have seen that after 1880s, Indian women had started to enter in the universities. Many of them became doctors, some became teachers, and they started to criticize the condition of the women. Then they were actively working for the reformation of the women. For this, they wrote many books, edited magazines, founded schools and training centers, as well as they set up Women's Association in the early 20th century. And because of this, some women organizations come forward and they put the pressure over the law system that the political condition of the women should get improved, as well as the women should get suffrage, that is the right to vote, and they should also receive better health care and education. And because of this, some national leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose lent their support to the demands of the equality and freedom for women. They had assured or promised the women organizations that there will be full suffrage to all the men and women after independence. And they asked the women to concentrate on anti-British struggle for this period. Then we have seen that because of this type of uh, involvement of the women in the condition or in the improvement of the condition of women, we have seen that some laws were being passed by the British officials. And one law was the law against the child marriage. The law was passed against the child marriage, where we have seen that the age was decided for the marriage for boys as well as girls. This was the law which prevented the child marriages. It took place in 1929. The Child Marriage Restraint Act. It was known as the Child Marriage Restraint Act. According to the act, no man below the age of 18 and woman below the age of 16 could get married. And subsequently, these limits were raised to 21 for men and 18 for women. So, we have seen that how the women had participated in the struggle for equality as well as freedom of the women itself, and how the new laws were passed because of this struggle of the women. In our next discussion, we will be discussing about the caste and social reforms. Thank you.